everyone. How's it going today? Hope you're having a good week so far. You know, if you're here live, this is a Wednesday morning, which means, okay, we're working our way through the week, but I hope it's a good week for you so far. Hey, we have a big lecture for today, so we're going to kind of jump right into things. What we're talking about today is the foundations of capitalism. Now, we've been talking for a while, right? We've talked about, free markets. We've talked about private investment and so forth. We've even talked laissez-faire. Today, we are bringing it all together. We are bringing it all together with our final piece called The Invisible Hand. What a great one to do in October, right? We're bringing it all together with our final piece called The Invisible Hand. And then we are going to challenge what is capitalism and does it work? And what is America? What does the U.S. follow? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into things. I'm going to come on over here. And I want to give us a quick reminder of the elements of capitalism, right? We have ourselves the profit motive, if you'll remember, a moral concept that personal gain is good. The idea that each person should not only but should constantly strive to better their material lot. It's all right. It's good to do these things, to try to better ourselves. I buy into this. And then we talked about free markets, right? An economic system based on the principle of supply and demand with little to no government intervention, driven by the voluntary exchange of goods and services, each party seeking to maximize their returns. And so we practice this fairly consistently. And then we had private wealth or capital, right? This one is privately held assets, including money, securities, real estate, buildings, factories, equipment. You can own these things privately, not the state, not the government, right? You can own these things privately. And then last week, we actually talked about laissez-faire, the theory that economies operate best without any government involvement, right? Hands off, leave alone, laissez-faire. All right, so that's what we've talked about so far. But today we are going to talk about the fifth and final element, the invisible hand. All right. Now, it was actually Adam Smith, and we will be talking about Adam Smith. It was actually Adam Smith who came up with the invisible hand. But there's a reading that you guys have in a video. Frankly, if you're with me right now, I'm going to take you through the main elements of the reading. The video is awfully fascinating. But anyway, we're going to talk about the reading called I, Pencil by Leonard Read. Okay? Here's what he says. It's as though the pencil wrote the essay. Okay? But it's a really good demonstration of the invisible hand. So bear with me. Bear with me. I am simple, yet no single person on the face of this earth knows how to make me. Okay, this is the core thesis, that no one person knows how to make a pencil. Okay, now it sounds like a pretty bold thesis, but let's see what Read is talking about. All right. He says, my family tree begins, in fact, as a tree. Now contemplate all the saws and trucks and rope and the countless other gear used to harvest and carting the cedar logs to the railroad siding. Okay, whatever. Here's the idea. Even just to cut down a tree to make a pencil, You need saws, you need pulley, you need ropes, you need all kinds of gear just to cut down a tree. And all this gear, these are ancestors of the pencil. Without a saw, you can't make a pencil. So you need all kinds of stuff. He goes on. Think of all the persons and the numberless skills that went into their fabrication. The mining of the ore, the making of the steel and its refinement into saws, axes, motors, and growing of hemp, bringing it through all the stages to heavy and strong rope. The cookery and the raising of the foods. Why, untold thousands of persons had a hand in every cup of coffee the loggers drink. Okay, you see where this is going. There are countless people and any number of tools and materials necessary just to cut down a tree. And we haven't even talked about the pencil yet. We're just talking about cutting down the tree. Okay, the logs are shipped. Can you imagine the individuals who make the flat cars and the railroad engines and who construct and install the communication systems? Incidental there too. Even the lighthouse keepers along the way assist in their berth and the harbor pilots. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. At a certain point, you're going to realize there is not a single person who is not involved in some way or another in making this pencil. All right. Yes, and included are the men who poured the concrete for the dam of Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E. I grew up in California, so I know PG&E well. The hydro plant and so forth. Millions of human beings have had a hand in my creation, no one of whom even knows more than a very few of the others. In other words, millions of people have played a part in making this pencil, and no one of them is an expert. Even the president of the pencil company is just one person in all of this and knows no more about how to make a pencil in its larger system than anyone else. It is impossible for me to name and explain all my antecedents. Does anyone wish to challenge my earlier assertion that no single person on the face of the earth knows how to make me? So you see, it takes an entire system to make a pencil. Now here's the M. Night Shyamalan twist, okay? This is the whole point that Leonard Read is trying to make. Check this out. Here's an astonishing fact. Neither the worker in the oil field, nor the chemist, nor the digger of graphite or clay, nor any who mans or makes the ships or trains or trucks, nor one who runs the machines that does the knurling on my bit of the metal, or the president of the company performs his singular task because he wants me. Okay, nobody's doing this because they want a frickin' pencil. They don't want a pencil. All right? Millions of people are doing all this work, and not a single one of them is saying, and at the end of the day, I get a pencil. Perhaps it is something like this. Each of these millions seek that he can thus exchange his tiny know-how for the goods and services he needs or wants. Okay? So we'll come back. So here's the idea. I don't want a pencil right now. I don't want a pencil. I want all kinds of things, guys. I need food, I need water, I need shelter, I need electricity, I need fuel, I want stuff in my garage, I want to be able to watch my Netflix and my streaming, and I want to be able to read. There's all kinds of stuff I want. And so what I'm going to do is give my labor to the system, and the system will pay me, and I can go off and get what I want. All right. So everybody is working to their own advantage, not for the advantage of the pencil, but for their own advantage. There is still more astonishing, the absence of a mastermind, of anyone dictating or forcibly directing these countless actions which bring me into being. No trace of such a person can be found. Instead, we find the invisible hand at work. Okay? The invisible hand, it's directing all of this work invisibly. There is no one central planner. I, Pencil, am the configuration of human energies, millions of tiny know-hows configuring naturally and spontaneously, naturally and spontaneously in response to human necessity and desire in the absence of any human mastermind. Okay. So, in summary, what he's saying is with this pencil, it takes millions of people, each contributing their tiny little piece of effort to bring about the conditions by which a pencil can be made. And this, of course, extends on to everything on the face of the earth. Right now, I am doing a live stream. I'm not doing the live stream. Millions of people have contributed their tiny little piece of effort to making this live stream possible, including you guys. Okay? So, now, this is connecting back to laissez-faire. The lesson I have to teach is this: leave all creative energies uninhibited. Merely organize society to act in harmony with this lesson. Let society's legal apparatus remove all obstacles the best it can. Permit these creative know-hows freely to flow. Have faith that free men and women will respond to the invisible hand. Okay, so here's the first question we're going to play with today. Are we making pencils right now? Right now, at this very moment, are we making pencils in any way? Okay? Go ahead and respond and give me a little bit of explanation on why you're responding the way that you are. Okay? Are we making pencils in any way, shape, or form? And give me a little explanation on why you're responding yes or no. Okay? Let's play with this. Okay, let's take a look at these. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. So let's go ahead and we're going to add in some light bulbs for us here. So first of all, Bridger says, yes, there is currently a large group of people doing work that could potentially come together and make a pencil. I agree. Yes, Julie says, everything's the result of a pencil maker. Yeah. Let's see, Maximus, yes, we are making pencils. I like the way there's kind of the quotes around that, right? It's like, yeah, we're making pencils, but not literally pencils, but we are doing something that creates value for another person. Everybody, I'm even going to give that 2 light bulbs. Everyone, hold on to that thought. We are creating value for another person. Hold on to that. Let's see. Brandley, probably because there's so many steps in making a pencil, has to be a good amount of people right now creating. Yeah, I'm with you. Yes, agree with Maximus. I think making pencils could, go into school and benefit teachers and so forth, and actually we use them in class and so forth. I really like what you have there. Let me come back to something Maximus said. He says, not literally, but we are doing something that creates value for another person. Okay? This is really key, all right? I want to play with this for a moment. Every time you work, create anything, right? Even when you're doing your hobby, you are creating value for the ether, for the world, for the system, for the community. You are creating value. And other people will take that value and do with it what they will. So in the case of a pencil, when a logger shows up to log, the logger just wants to eat. I just want to feed my family. I just want to take care of my things. I just want to put fuel in my truck and so forth. I'm just here to cut down trees. But in cutting down trees, the logger is creating a value. Now, what the world does with that value is up to the world. That lumber could go to pencils, it could go to homes, it could go to paper, it could go to firewood, it could go to any number of things. The logger doesn't know or care. The logger doesn't know or care what the world, the system, is doing with the value that he or she created. In the same way, you and I constantly are creating value, and who knows what the world is doing with the value, right? Think of it this way. You go to work, you work, work, and your employer gives you money. Here's money. All right. The employer doesn't know what you do with that money. The employer doesn't care so long as it's legal and doesn't get you on the front page of the news with your ID badge on the paper, on the picture in the paper. Paper? Who watches and reads papers? Anyway, you see what I'm saying. Your employer doesn't care what you do with that money. In the same way, you create value for the employer. You don't know or care what the employer does with that value that you created. So, yeah, you and I could very well be making pencils right now. Some value we create is going toward pencils. Some value we create could be going to the dark web. You don't know. I don't know. Okay? But the invisible hand is able to disperse this value where it is most needed. That is the whole premise of the invisible hand, is that we all create our value, and then the system uses that value where it feels it can be most valuable. All right? It's a far out idea. It's a far out idea. Now, as I said before, it's an idea that Adam Smith came up with, and so we'll take a look at what he said, right? But remember, like the Sumerians selling clothing to the nomads, which in turn allowed nomads to expand their routes, thereby creating value, I hope that I am at this time creating some value that you can then use, right? And but that's up to you, not me. All right. Okay. Let's see. Now, by the way, Maximus asks real quick, and I want to take a look at this. It's the idea of wisdom of the crowd. Okay. Wisdom of the crowds. Wisdom of the crowds. So let me first explain what Maximus is talking about with wisdom of the crowds. It's an interesting phenomenon. It's really worth taking a moment to explore, all right? And there's a really interesting article on NPR. They wrote an article about wisdom of the crowds, and they used the example of a cow, a great big bull at a fair. All right. So if you want to Google this later on, look at Wisdom of the Crowds, NPR, bull, fair, you'll find it. Anyway, here's the idea. I don't know anything about bulls. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you don't know anything about bulls. I don't know, right? And so they just kind of truck this bull around the fair, carrying him, leading him around. And they would ask people at the fair, how much does this bull weigh? And nobody knew. And so they guessed anywhere, and I'm not kidding, the guesses were anything from like 200 pounds, which is moronic, to 20,000 pounds, which is moronic. But here's what happens, is if you get a big enough sample size and add them all together, and find the average is like within a pound or two of the actual weight. And so while no individual can accurately guess the weight, if you get enough guesses across the board and average them out, you're going to guess the weight. And this is the idea of wisdom of the crowds. I like that connection of wisdom of the crowds with the invisible hand. I think that's worth pursuing and investigating. I have not yet thought of the invisible hand, Maximus, in those terms. But I think that's an astute observation that somehow or another, when an idea, a problem, a challenge is distributed to a large enough sample size, it will naturally find its equilibrium. It will naturally find the correct answer. So I think that's an interesting idea. I'd Google that and see what the world says. Maybe you're the only one who's thought of that. I don't know, but I sure haven't. Okay. All right, let's keep going on. All right. So as I said, it was Adam Smith, the patron saint of Western economics, a philosopher, who came up with the idea of the invisible hand. So while I feel that Leonard Read did a very good job of explaining the invisible hand through the, metaphysical lens of a pencil, let's look at what Adam Smith actually said, all right? So this guy, he says, and this is from Wealth of Nations, by the way, you've probably figured out that line up on the right-hand side shows the reading that we're doing. As every individual, therefore, endeavors as much as he can both to employ his capital in support of domestic industry and so to direct that industry that it produce maybe the greatest value, every individual necessarily labors to render the annual revenue of society as great as he can. Oh, what? What the hell? Okay. So we're talking about an educated Scottish philosopher in the 1800s. Let's put this in layman terms for us, okay? What he's saying is, listen, you want as much as you can in this world. You have time, you have money, you have resources, you have raw materials. And so you are going to work as hard as you can with the resources you have to better your life and that of your family. This is domestic industry, okay? And so you're going to do all this with the sole intention of helping yourself, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you're an ass or anything, and we give to charity and we help out where we can and so on and so forth. But for the most part, now don't worry, this is going to loop back, okay? So bear with me. For the most part, we're laboring to help ourselves. I like what I do, but I'm doing it for me. Well, I'll use that example in a moment, okay? So we're all working hard and employing our resources, using our resources to help ourselves and our families as much as we possibly can. Great. He then says, he generally, indeed, neither intends to promote the public interest, nor knows how much he is promoting it. By preferring the support of domestic to that of foreign industry, he intends only his own security. And by directing that industry in such a manner as its produce may be of greatest value, he intends only his own gain. So once again, this person, me, I'm working hard for my own gain. I don't know if it's helping anyone. I don't particularly care if it's helping anyone. I'm working for my own gain. But now watch, okay? Something really cool happens. And he is, this, in many other cases, led by an invisible hand to promote an end which is in no part his intention, nor is it always the worse for society that it is not part. By pursuing his own interest, he frequently promotes that of the society more effectually than when he really intends to promote it. Okay, all right, where's this going? When we, by the way, Maximus, this is limited by scarcity, right? There's only so much time in the day. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So let's play with this. The invisible hand decides the most efficient use of the time. Yes. Okay. So following what Maximus says, using this idea of scarcity, you have limited time and limited resources, limited money, and limited energy. And you want to get maximum output by employing your limited time and energy. So for example, you have not read Leonard I. Pencil. I'm guessing here, right? You haven't read it because you know that if you attend this lecture, I will take you through the key points of Leonard's I. Pencil, and it will give you the core elements of what you need. And that is a more efficient use of your time. You take less time and effort, and you get more output from it. This is totally cool and copacetic, my friends. You should always be looking for maximum output for minimum input, okay? And so, yes, the invisible hand helps us figure out where that is going to happen. But now watch this. By pursuing my own self-interest only, I am, as a side effect, helping society. Okay? So let me show you here. And that's the wrong button. Let's come to the right button. Let me show you what I mean here. Okay? In other words, we pursue our own economic self-interest. As we do this, we inevitably benefit others, even if it is in no way our intent. And this benefit creates, with no deliberate intention, is nonetheless more effective than designed intent. Okay, let me show you what I mean. All right? Or let me show you what Adam Smith means. I'm a teacher. That's me. Right there. That's me. All right. That's weird. Metaphysical. You know, that's very meta. Anyway, that's me. I teach. I do it for me. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I actually really enjoy teaching. I enjoy the interaction with you folks, and I hope that comes across. Nevertheless, I do it for me and my family. I need the money. I need the flexibility in my schedule. I need the security that comes with being a 10-year professor and so forth. So I do all this for me. However, and I hope this is the case, as I do what I do for me and because I enjoy it, I hope you benefit from it. I hope you gain something that you can then take and create value with it. In the same way, you weren't sitting around 2 years ago thinking, you know what? I hear there's this guy named Lon Schiffbauer out there. And I bet Lon Schiffbauer would really like to feed his family and take care of his yard. That takes money. How can I help Lon Schiffbauer? I got it. I'm going to enroll in classes at Salt Lake Community College, and that way he can keep his job and invest in his yard and his home and make his life beautiful. This never occurred to you. Ever, 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 ever. You are attending this class right now for one person. You. And yet, though it's no intention at all, you're helping me. So that's the whole idea that Adam Smith is trying to promote here, is that even though we're all working for number one, ourselves and our families and our immediate, concerns, we're in fact helping the whole community. We're helping everybody. And the invisible hand is ensuring that the way that we're helping the whole community is the most efficient way possible. Okay? That's the idea here. That's the idea. When you think about it deeply, it's fascinating to see the ways that it comes about. For example, when I say I like, and I'm not saying that I do a lot. I'm not, look at me. I'm not doing that. I'm not flexing. But I am concerned about the homeless. Therefore, I give to the homeless. But now, I always had this concern that, all right, that I give to panhandlers. We've already talked about that. I give to panhandlers. But then I've often thought, well, now hold on, is that money going to the most effective, is it being used in the most efficient way and to those of greatest need? So then I think, well, then I'm going to give to the Road Home. So I give to the Road Home and I give to the Bishop Storehouse Food, Utah Food, whatever, right? Utah Food Services and the Road Home. That's it. Because they can more efficiently use my donations in a way that helps those in most need. Or does it? Because who understands the need of the individual more than the individual? When your employer pays you, they pay you. They don't pay your parents and say, now, Maximus, he did this work for us. We're going to give you the money because you know best how to spend it for Maximus. You're going to be like, the hell? Pay me. So when you really think about the invisible hand and how it works, it touches us in all kinds of ways. I just said the invisible hand touches us in all kinds of ways. Okay, I'm now going to be demonetized on YouTube, but you see what I'm saying. Okay. All right. Now, so this brings us to the last part, the last part of capitalism. As we pursue our own economic self-interest, we inevitably benefit others, even if this was in no way our intent. All right. So what we've got here, guys, is we've got the 5 pillars of capitalism. One of these days, I'm going to do a nutshell brainery video on this. By the way, Maximus says here, and let's get ourselves and are we at? Yeah, we are. Cool. In the not too distant future, he points to. Does the example of the Texas rancher's labor providing meat to New York work? All the rancher really wants is New York's money for himself. Yeah, totally. All right, totally. Once again, when we produce value, we have no idea who's using the value that we produce, and we have no idea what they're going to do with it. And yet, in the same way, when we receive value, we don't often think about who produced it. Which is why when you're driving on roads, how often do you think of the people who worked to build those roads? And when you're turning on the lights, how often do we think of the people who are working day and night to make sure that we have safe and a constant supply of electricity? It's only when something goes down that we get all PO'd and think about how much we need these things. So just as in we don't know where the value goes that we create, we often don't think about those who created the value that we enjoy. So, yeah. Meditate upon that on the tree of woe. If you know the reference to the movie reference, let me know. Okay, let's keep going. Yay. All right. So, congratulations. We have just kind of gone through the 5 pillars of capitalism over these lectures. Thing is, nobody really follows capitalism. Just as in nobody really follows socialism, nobody really follows communism. Everybody on this earth follows a mixed form of economic theory, mixed economic theories. The question is not which one do you follow. The question is, where are the dials set? Now, in the United States, we follow what is predominantly capitalism to a tremendous degree, to be fair. But it's not pure capitalism. We follow aspects of socialism. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do a 2-minute question thing. Give me some examples of how the American economic system uses socialist principles, meaning government paying for something for the benefit of all of society. Give me some examples of where the U.S. government or the state uses taxpayer money to provide a service that benefits the entire community. This is what we mean by a social program. All right? So I'll repeat it one more time. Give me some examples of where a government uses taxpayer money to provide a service to support that benefits the entire community. Let's play with that. Excellent comments, guys. Okay, let's work our way through these, and I'll go ahead and do a bunch of these, and we'll go ahead and get our next. Yeah, it's about right there. Okay. Yeah, you guys. Oh, hold on. Where to go? How'd that happen? That's wild. Okay. I didn't even know PowerPoint could do that. The COVID relief, absolutely a great example. Museums and national parks, not many people bring that up. But yes, this is something that benefits all of society and paid for by the people. Taxpayer money to keep the roads and public schools in good condition most of the time. I thought that was pretty good. Think about schools for a moment, guys. K through 12, kindergarten through 12th grade, K through 12, paid for by the state. Okay. By the way, the reason you go to Salt Lake Community College is because it's cheap. Do you know why it's cheap? It's cheap because 60% of your tuition is subsidized by the state. So you are enjoying, your whole K through 12 was a socialist program, and you're continuing to enjoy it today. Police department, fire department, excellent examples. Paying for dialysis, directly pays for medical care. So medical care, Maximus, let's take medical care, for example. I'm not trying to be controversial. I am just simply stating a fact. If you are elderly, disabled in some way, or a military veteran, you enjoy, right? You have access to health care through the state, okay? You have publicly funded health care access. If you're none of these things, you have to work like a schmuck like the rest of us, okay? So why is that? We're going to talk about that in future lectures, but there's a reason. I'm not saying it's the correct reason or a bad reason. There is a reason. So it's a great example. Libraries. Yes, libraries. Libraries are another great example. Um, the list, in fact, goes on and on and on. The very fact, water and electricity, your utilities in the United States are so insanely cheap that you don't even really think about how much they cost. That's because the prices are controlled by the government, which is, yes, socialism. All right. They are controlled by the government. You bathe in that crap. Water. It's called water. You bathe in it and you have no idea how much that shower cost you. You just crank up the water, crank up the heat, go la 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 la. I don't want to start the day. I don't want to start the day. I can do this. You're a winner. And then you get out of the shower and you start your day. You have no idea how much that shower cost you because it's so inexpensive because it's price controlled. Well, now, what's his name here? Potter. Sounds like I'm watching Harry Potter. David Potter, he has a theory about what is it where do Americans allow socialism to come into play? So let's play with his theory. All right. Again, I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm saying let's explore it and challenge it. By the way, your K through 12, it's paid for by property taxes. Okay. And the idea of a socialist program is that all of society benefits from an educated workforce. And by the way, all of society benefits from an educated workforce. So when somebody says, well, I don't have kids, why are my property taxes going to somebody else's kids' education? Because you benefit from an educated workforce. Settle the hell down. All right. Let's see what Potter actually says. He says, the fact that the masters of capital have never really been fully in control means they have never been able to set the goals of the American economy. Instead, and this is a second major economic corollary of the Democratic comment, the goals of the economy have been set by the democratic philosophy rather than by the theories of capitalism. In other words, he says, listen, if you were to follow the theories of capitalism 100%, it would be a cold, mean, nasty world. Then some would contend that it can be that way. Okay, capitalism is all about the rich getting rich and those in control and power, and if you can't hack it and you fall by the wayside, such is laissez-faire and survival of the fittest. Whereas the American economic system is really based more on democracy, which is, you know what, we should all have a say. Yes, I understand that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, they have all the money. But that doesn't mean they should have more of the say in our economic system. We should all have a say. This is rooted in the idea of democracy, okay? So he goes on to say, historically, what have American people expected from their economy? They've not cared so much for maximum efficiency, which is what the theories of free competition are constantly talking about. In fact, they have tolerated immense waste in the use of natural resources. Yeah, we don't really care that much that resources are being wasted. So long as people are included in the system, we can tolerate all kinds of waste. We have not sought the elimination or inefficient or marginal producers. which again is one of the presumed merits of the free competition, but have often gone to the aid of marginal producers, especially agriculture. Okay. He picks on agriculture here because agriculture enjoys a lot of subsidies from the government. So when things are really, really rough for our farmers, we subsidize the farmers because you never want to be a nation without food. I get it. You get it. We get it. But the government is always bailing out companies. I mean, you've heard the term too big to fail. Too big to fail means if this company fails, it will put thousands upon thousands of people out of work, and then thousands and thousands more that support that company, and whole economic sectors will fall down and collapse, and dogs and cats will sleep together. Everything's going to go to pot. So that's when a company or an industry is too big to fail, which means the American taxpayer goes in and bails out that company or industry and so forth. Now, Amazon, Jake, could be getting to a point where it's too big to fail. It could be. Most of the time in the past, the examples have been around airlines, auto manufacturers, public financial systems, and so forth. The government has bailed out airlines and auto manufacturers and steel industry and financial, sectors countless times. Okay. Now, straight capitalism would say, don't you dare. You should let them fail. They are a marginal producer. Whereas an economic system that says we shouldn't just let hundreds of thousands of people lose their jobs overnight says, no. It's worth helping these companies get back up on their feet. Okay? Continuing on, this, by the way, just kind of shows where a whole lot of subsidies are going. Where is it? Let's see. This one is for, this one's for farm. You notice that during the pandemic, we subsidized farming a whole lot more, right? The red is money that farmers made from subsidies. We're not going to go into that, though. Farmers are not the only ones who get subsidized. All right, continuing on. If we look not to the theory, but to the experience, we may find that the only economic policy that the American people have always insisted upon and constantly applied is that the system should operate in such a way as to give the bulk of the population access to sources of wealth. This is big, okay? In capitalism, there's a reason why capitalism is called capitalism, because it's built upon your access to capital. Okay? In other words, you need money to make money. You need to have access to capital in order to thrive in the system. And what David Potter is saying here is we want our economic system to be one such that the biggest bulk of the population, as much as possible, has access to wealth. So, let's play with this for a moment. You have access to wealth. I want you to think beyond alone. Think well beyond alone. How has our social, and you've already kind of answered some of these, so think broadly. How has the ways that America practices some level of socialism given you access to the things that wealth provides? You may not have money in your bank account, but you have had access to things that wealth provides. What have you benefited from, and what are you benefiting from today that can be seen as access to wealth and access to things that wealth provides? Let's play with that question for a moment. You're so good. You're all right. Let's talk about why you're right. Let's see. Oh man, yeah, we're gonna get a whole bunch here. You know this movie? Okay, let's continue on. So, hey, you know what? So the first thing Jackson said was insurance. I've never thought of that one as an access to wealth, but you are absolutely correct. So, congratulations. This is one that has never been brought up before and doesn't immediately come to my mind. But insurance is, in fact, a form of access to wealth. I really like that. Public schools, absolutely. Transportation. Do you think these roads just appear? They don't, and they're expensive. And yet, okay, this is key. This is key. Here's key from Canyon Creations Jewelry. Okay, there she is. Okay, Canyon Creations Jewelry. The thing about, say, like roads and so forth is they enable economic prosperity. You are able to go to your job and contribute to the economy because you have a car with insurance on good roads, policed by highway patrol, and it's safe and so on and so forth. Therefore, the idea of a successful social program is one that creates an environment in which people can create more wealth than it's costing to provide it. So, great example. Police protection and so forth, Jake, yes, because you and I are not fixated on our own personal security 24/7. We can actually think outside of that and self-actualize and improve our lot because safety is, to the degree possible, taken care of. Financial aid, medical support, public lands. Yeah, actually, public lands, that's how my father lived, was on BLM land. Yeah. Food stamps. Yes. In past history, my wife and I, with our family, because of an economic circumstance we were in, we benefited from some social programs. I don't know if we did food stamps. I'd have to ask my wife. We may have. But it enables you to get back up on your feet and produce further wealth in the future. So you guys really get it, okay? That's the idea, is by providing access to wealth to as many people as possible, we are in fact creating more economic value than it is costing us. It is an investment. It's an investment. That's what David Potter here is asserting. One of these is the goal of maximum opportunity for individual arising from a strong American belief in the dignity of worth of man. Americans really like the idea that anybody can make it. Now, I'm not saying that it always comes out this way in any way, shape, or form, but we enjoy the idea that if you work hard, play by the rules, are a little lucky, and get some help and support and use the resources available to you, and if the stars align right, you're going to do all right. We like that idea. And so we like the idea of creating an economic system that facilitates this and makes this a possibility, is what Potter asserts. The other is the goal for a high and steady improving standard of living, arising from the fact that American society began its major growth at a moment in history when, for the first time since the beginning of the world, the productive system was capable of yielding a steadily increasing surplus above the bare necessities. Okay, what's he saying? He's saying, listen, for the vast majority of human history, you just had to work your butt off to survive that day. You lived hand to mouth, okay? And if you didn't work that day, you didn't eat that day. And there's many places in the world where this continues. However, America kind of came into its own during the Industrial Revolution and so forth. And so America it's hardwired into our cultural psyche that every 10 years every other year we're going to get a new iPhone with new capability, that our TVs are going to get bigger and flatter and smarter, and we are going to have more access to this, that, and the other. In other words, we have this general expectation that life is going to get better. Our standard of living is going to increase with each, and not even with each generation, with each year, right? And so the social systems that are put into place, if they support this idea of continuing access to an improved standard of living, then they would be considered a good investment by Potter. Okay. Perhaps the most convincing proof of the extent to which American standard has soared above the physical necessities is not statistical at all, but lies in the fact that Americans no longer buy most of their purchases in response to actual physical need. Need has been transcended as an economic stimulus, and goods are bought for comfort, convenience, recreation, style, and prestige. Yeah. Sure, you and I buy food. I get that. I gotta go grocery shopping this afternoon. But even when I'm grocery shopping, a lot of the stuff I get is not so much necessity as it's I like to have. As you can see, from my shirts and so forth, I'm a fan of caffeine. I like my caffeine. So I buy plenty of caffeine in its various delivery mechanisms. You don't need that to survive. Actually, I would contend. But you see what I'm saying, right? Today we buy things because we can. I can get shirts custom made because I can. I can buy gear for my studio because I can. I can upgrade my phone because I can. None of these things are, if I don't, I will die. We say we will, but it's not the case. Okay. I'm going to end with this slide. All right. So this is a slide I put together where all of this comes down to, do you regulate? Do you provide social programs and so on and so forth? And both sides of the aisle love to go to war over this, right? Democrats and Republicans, the progressives, liberals, and the conservatives. And they're all fighting over regulation and social issues and so on and so forth. Fact of the matter is, both sides love regulation and both sides love freedom. The question is, what are you regulating and what are you making free, right? So here's my assertion. This is life according to Lon, and this is our last slide, so you can kind of chill. Life according to Lon. We've got liberals and conservatives, and then we have economic issues and we have social issues. By and large, liberals want to regulate, by and large. I'm not saying everybody in every sense. Okay, just bear with me. By and large, liberals regulate economic issues because they're afraid of what big corporations do for people. And they want to liberate social issues, right? Well, conservatives, they tend to want to liberate economic issues. Laissez-faire, invisible hand, let the economy and the market figure out what it wants to do. Whereas they want to regulate more the social issues. Okay, so yeah, they have more of an interest in defending a Judeo-Christian value set that they feel that the nation was built upon. So it's always this struggle, right? So, when you hear regulation, pro and con, and you hear liberating and freedom and so forth, no one party has a monopoly on either one. Both parties are trying to assert a future and an economic and social environment that they feel is best for the collective. Where is it? Where's the answer? In my opinion, somewhere in the middle, but I don't know, right? I don't know. Leave me alone. You're mean. So there we go. That is everything for Module 7, right? And you guys did an absolutely tremendous job with my challenging questions, especially when we delve into benefits of social programs and so forth. Great work. Really great work. And we're halfway through the semester now. So I hope this is working well for you. We are all set. So as always, send me an email. Let me know you're here so I can give you the sweet, sweet extra credit points because you earned a bunch today. And as always, I'm going to stick around. If you have any questions, if there's anything you don't quite understand or want to challenge, discuss, I'm here. Once again, if you'd rather set up a Zoom meeting, we can do that. But otherwise, great work today. Great work. So go off, have a great rest of the day, a fantastic rest of the week. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day.